Welcome back to Out Loud, the Selective Mutism Podcast. I'm Chelsea.
And I'm Ann, Chelsea's mom.
And today we're talking about toileting. It was highly requested for months. So we're finally doing it.
Sorry we're late with the episode. I was actually off to Florida, so we tried doing it remotely, but it didn't work out. I just want to start off the episode with saying, yes, toileting difficulties are related to selective mutism. I just see it all the time where parents are questioning, is it related or is it a separate issue? It definitely is related to selective mutism.
Mm-hmm. There's a few different reasons why I think it's related. I think obviously there's the talking component where if you can't ask to go to the bathroom, that's going to create issues. But then there's also just the underlying anxiety makes it difficult, as well as sensory issues, which a lot of kids with selective mutism struggle with sensory processing as well.
Right, and you were saying before that even not only is asking to go to the bathroom difficult, but even if the teacher arranged with you ahead of time, just go when you need to, it was even the issue of standing up in front of the others to go to the bathroom that caused anxiety.
Yeah, it's so much more than just speaking with selective mutism, in my opinion.
And then once you got into the bathroom, there's also issues in there.
Yeah.
The flushing, the wiping, other people hearing you pee.
Yeah.
Right, it's just so many different issues surrounding toileting with selective mutism.
Yeah. I've had a variety of different stories that have been sent to me about people's toileting issues. It seems like it's hard to give advice on this when there's so many different issues. So I would say it's super important to figure out why you're having the problem. Like, figure out if your kid is having sensory problems. Like, are they afraid of the loud sounds? Or they have a fear of falling in the toilet, which is actually pretty common with little kids. Do they have fear of people hearing them or looking under the stall, like wiping, hand washing, things like that are related to sensory issues. And then you can also look into make sure it's not medically related.
Right.
Because if there's something going on, like it's uncomfortable to pee because you have a UTI or you have like a tear from holding your poop, then that is creating other issues and you need to get that addressed before you can solve that problem.
Right, and sometimes it's hard to know what came first.
Yeah, because they cause each other. Yeah.
Right.
And then if it's none of those and it's just trouble asking to use the bathroom, then you need to focus on that part of selective mutism.
And sometimes I think it starts with that, but then that leads to other problems.
Yeah, definitely. I also, for me, the bathroom, everything related to the bathroom was really embarrassing for me for some reason. Like, I didn't want any kids to even know I went to the bathroom because I was afraid they would make some comment about it. Like, I don't know, kids love potty jokes, and I always found it super uncomfortable. And another thing is, I think anxiety, like, the kids with selective mutism are so anxious, and they're so worried about everything going on in their environment that they might not even realize they need to use the bathroom until it's, like, urgent, which is what happened to me a lot.
That's a good point, actually. I hadn't really thought of that.
It's like, you're not self-monitoring your own body. Like, you're not, because you're nervous about something else, you're not going to realize, like, oh, I need to use the bathroom. Or you procrastinate.
And I can kind of see that, too. When you were little, you would, like, wiggle, wiggle. And I'd say, like, to Chelsea, do you need to use the bathroom? And you'd say no. Like, you would deny it.
Yeah, because I think part of it, I didn't want to go, but...
Yeah, but I wonder half of it if you didn't really realize that you did need to go because you were focused on something different.
Yeah. I have always been that way, where when I need to go to the bathroom, I need to go within the next 5 minutes. Like, it comes on very strong. Like, I realize when it's urgent. So that's something to consider. But I just think it's important to make sure you know why you're having issues.
Right, and I think,
target
a lot of people, I don't think, give the kids enough credit. Like, talk about it. Just ask them, I think they know more than we think they do as to why they're not going or what's happening.
Yeah, so there's a bunch of different ways we can address each of those problems. There's also, it seems like some people are having issues where kids aren't toilet trained at all, or it's like they're having trouble potty training even in the home, which I don't know. For most selective mutism families that I've heard from, it seems like they are toilet trained, but once they get into school or they're out in public, that's when the problems are.
Yeah, and that kind of makes me wonder too if there's other diagnosis, if there's other, comorbid diagnoses.
Right. Yeah, obviously you would have a different intervention for a kid that has just like a delayed toileting experience,
right?
Compared to a kid who is toilet trained and just has like sensory issues, or they're afraid to ask.
Right, and I would think that with SM, that's the more common, is that you're toilet trained appropriately. Mm-hmm. It's usually actually it's going to the bathroom outside of the home. That's the issue. So with you were actually potty trained. I want to say your last, I don't know what terminology we're going to use here, but your last bowel movement in your diapers was at 18 months old. Wow. And you pretty much trained yourself in that regard because I think it was sensory actually.
Yeah, it's avoidance of that sensation.
Yeah. So you did all the normal, like, hiding behind the counter if you were going to have a bowel movement, but then you were pulling at your diaper. You didn't want it touching you.
Yeah.
So I just remember 18 months and you were done. So from then on, you went on the potty, except for urinating.
Yeah.
And that came, at the typical age of like 2.5.
Yeah. I want to say with that whole, since we're talking about this diaper thing, it is a lot more uncomfortable. That doesn't make sense. It is a lot...
Much more uncomfortable?
It is, yeah.
Maybe.
It's a lot more uncomfortable to have an accident in underwear, like cotton underwear, as opposed to a diaper, especially for urine, because it just absorbs up. So I think a lot of the time, especially with families I work with who have autism, kids are not making any progress with toileting because the parents are just keeping them in diapers, which you'd think it makes sense because they're trying to avoid the accidents, like having to change all the clothes, but they don't have to avoid that feeling because they don't feel the wetness, so they're like, oh, I'll just keep peeing in this diaper.
See, I wonder if that's kind of a thing that's changed over time because diapers are so much more effective now. Like back in the old days, people were wearing cloth diapers, or then they do like cloth diapers with rubber pants over them.
Oh, rubber pants.
Way back.
I was reading about that for my research for this podcast. I was like, what are rubber pants?
There were actually training underwear. Sorry, and that's... training underwear is what I used for you. So those are just like really thick padded underwear, but they're cotton cloth.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I would definitely... This is what I always tell families. If they're still in pull-ups and you're trying to potty train them, I'd say get rid of them. Like maybe if you're going on a long trip in the car or they're wetting the bed a lot and
then use them,
then it's okay.
Right.
Sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I would say don't send them to school I don't know.
That's like the old-fashioned way, is just let them run around naked, and that way you can see them pee, or they know when they're going to pee, and you grab them and put them on the potty.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think part of it might be, you're right, is that diapers are so absorbent now.
Yeah.
And the pull-ups, the trainers, all of it.
You don't even feel it. Yeah. I see that a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so with you, for your potty training, just typical potty training, I mean, we put the potty in the living room in front of the television, and I would just sit you on there with a book while you watched a show, and then if you happened to pee, we made a huge deal of it, and then we eventually moved the potty to the bathroom, just typical potty training stuff.
Yeah.
So anyone out there looking for a reward for potty training or going on the potty, there was a song that we used to sing to Chelsea, and it was called, I don't know the name of it actually, but it was, so like, you are a super duper pooper, you go potty with the best. What is it? You're a big girl now.
No, take a bow, you're a big girl now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
I don't
know. You got it.
But
Anyway, it is on YouTube.
It's really funny. Maybe we can put the link somewhere.
Yeah. And I think there was a video, it was called like, it's Bobby's birthday. Today is Bobby's birthday. No?
That's the same movie.
Okay. Yeah. Anyway, we'll try to find it and put the link out there.
Yeah. Okay. So I would have different advice for a kid who is not potty trained at all, but I think for this episode, we're just going to focus on selective mutism, where a child is potty trained at home and they're having issues, like they're regressing, going into school and having issues, like outside of the home.
Even before school, like when you were little, I know just going to the mall, like if you had to use the bathroom, that was a huge issue.
Yeah, that's what.
Right. And the biggest thing, sometimes I wonder if what triggered it was the automatic toilet flushers.
Yeah.
Because you were terrified of those. So we had a few things we used to do. I would cover the sensor, although sometimes that didn't quite work, and the toilet still flushed, and then you flew off the toilet and didn't really trust them, so that was a huge problem. Sometimes I would stand in front of you were always afraid that the door would open too, because some of the
locks don't work very well, or if they have a really big space in between the door and people can see in.
That's true.
Super like, yeah.
So I would stand in front of the door and I would hold it at the top where the two doors meet, or where the door met the jamb, so that would make her feel more comfortable to go.
Yeah.
I think as you get a little older, I stood out in front of the door, outside of the door, and you would see my legs through, so you knew I was guarding the door, and I think I was blocking the gap.
So I think for a child who's like really uncomfortable using the bathroom, even going inside the bathroom, you want to make the bathroom like a really fun place and a safe space. So you want to make sure, what we were just saying, you want to control all the sound, like the hand dryers, and you want to try to block off those sensors, or use a bathroom that doesn't have one, I guess. Because you want, if they're totally like afraid of the bathroom, you have to kind of deprogram that. And a lot of the time I don't know, with kids with autism who also have a lot of sensory issues with the bathroom, we bring the iPad in the bathroom and we watch movies in the bathroom, and that we usually isolate that reinforcer so that that's the only place they have access to it. So like you can only watch Baby Shark in the bathroom, and that pairing just makes it a safer space. Like they associate the bathroom with like having fun.
And now everyone has cell phones, smartphones, so they could use their smartphone.
And it doesn't have to be an iPad. It could be like a toy or like a song, or I don't know. Just
what about headphones? Like listening to music or something.
Yeah, if you have the sound issues, that works too. They have those sound canceling headphones too. But there's also ways to desensitize to these things, because if you're just going to block it out, which is something you can do, you're never going to get over it. So like someday you forget your headphones, like what are you going to do? Not use the bathroom? So we call that shaping, or psychology, they call it the systematic desensitization. So for that, it depends what we're trying to desensitize them to, but say it's the sound of the toilet, you would have them, first of all, we love our reinforcers, so usually an edible or something like that, like their favorite candy or their favorite snack, and they can earn that. It's kind of like exposures, like let's set up, you have to go order French fries or something. It's the same kind of thing. So you talk with your kid and you're like, today our goal is to walk up to the door and I'm going to go in and flush the toilet, and you stay there while it flushes and you earned a candy. And you do that multiple times until they're successful, like 3 times in a row. And then your next step is to have them inside the door or with the door open, whatever you think your kid is capable of. So I've done this very gradually with kids, and it works. It's really weird how it works, but eventually, yeah.
So you actually have to plan outings just to go practice this. You could make a sticker chart. You could just go to the mall just specifically to do this. Actually, before you went to the mall, you could even just go maybe somewhere that's more familiar. That's a place that they go all the time. Maybe McDonald's or something. Or
it's even better if you can do this where you're having the problem. Like if this is at school, if you can figure out a way to go after school when no one's there, and you can just take your time and do this, that would be amazing, because we know that generalization, you have to do it in the same environment a lot of the time.
So maybe if the parent could go to the school before school starts with the child, practice going into the bathroom. I
don't want this to be rushed though. Like it really does take a long time. I've done this at work with electric toothbrushes and with going to the bathroom in public. where I literally did what I'm explaining. It was like, oh, let's walk next to the door and touch the doorknob, and then you get to watch a video, and then we, eventually we're inside the bathroom.
Actually, when you were young and in counseling, and we were having this problem, she had assigned us to go to anywhere, I think the mall or anywhere, where there was a big line of bathroom stalls, and we were supposed to have you go in and just flush each toilet down the line.
Yes.
Do you remember this?
We've talked about this before.
We did.
This is not systematic desensitization. This is flooding. It's when you do like the most extreme thing all at once.
Yeah, we didn't actually succeed.
I don't recommend that unless you really have a committed client. But yeah, I would say you can do this for kids who hate sitting on the toilet. You can do the same thing. It can be stand inside the bathroom, because I have had kids that will not even enter the bathroom. It's like all you have to do is stand in the bathroom for 5 minutes or even less, like 2 minutes, and you earn whatever you decided on. And then the next step would be stand in front of the toilet. And the next step would be sit on the toilet. And you can increase the increments of time.
The problem with that is, though, like because school is the main environment where people have trouble with. So it seems like a lot of people have trouble getting the schools to be on board.
Yeah.
So like, how can a parent, I hope it's not, but how can a parent get permission or whatever to get in the school to practice this?
Yeah, I definitely think this is something that should be monitored by a professional. I definitely think you can do it on your own if you educate yourself enough, but it's good to have the guidance of like your psychologist or a behavior therapist if you have one.
Right.
And then I just think that gives you like a foot in the door. Like teachers are more, or the school is more likely to listen to a psychologist who wants to come work with a kid
than a parent.
Yeah.
You're right.
And you know what? Teachers don't want to deal with all these like toileting problems anyway, so there's incentive for that too.
It's true. I see a lot of parents saying that the school is saying that their child's not potty trained, but the children are potty trained. It's just that they're going to school and having accidents.
Yeah.
I mean, if preschool, I think that's pretty normal. Like, usually you're told bring an extra outfit, put in the cubby. Yeah. But I can see where it's a problem at kindergarten or, first or second grade.
And keep in mind, having accidents is, like, one of the worst things that can happen to a kid. Like, it's so embarrassing, especially for kids who have selective mutism, because you don't want attention on you. And that definitely gives you a lot of bad attention.
I do remember one time I picked you up from after school program and you were sitting on the floor and I was like, okay, I'm here. Come on, let's go. And you wouldn't get up. And then after much prodding, you did get up and there was a wet spot where you had been sitting and you had peed. And it was because you were sitting with a girl who one time had held you in the bathroom stall.
Oh.
So I think you were terrified to get up and go.
Yeah, I had a lot of anxiety about the bathroom.
Yeah.
It's funny, though, because I also used the bathroom as a hideout. Like, in the later years. Like, right. Early on, it was, like, too scary to go, but eventually it's like, what's worse? Would you rather give a presentation or read, like, a passage out of a book or go hide in the bathroom? But that's a separate issue. There's a lot of other things that you may have overlooked, like some kids are really afraid of sitting on the toilet. Like, you can buy those like attachments that are like a smaller hole, so it's less scary. And there's also like you could put a step stool. A lot of kids don't like their feet dangling, like they feel too high. It's kind of hard to do like in classrooms in public, but I think if you're having issues at home, you should always look at all the variables. And if your kid can like verbalize like this is the problem, like if they can identify the issue, like what's making them the most afraid, that is helpful.
And I don't know, flushing, I mean, I don't think you never really had a problem flushing at home. It was flushing out in public that terrified you.
Because they're automatic. You don't have control over it, I think, is the problem with that.
I know, I was thinking, what about bringing a piece of duct tape and just covering the
Yeah, some people bring sticky
guy.
notes and they say that works well, or you can bring a piece of paper, and some people do the laminated pieces of paper in front of it. so it blocks it. But I definitely would say it's better to desensitize because they're not going to go away. Like, it's better to familiarize yourself slowly with the sound and learn how to tolerate that. And then you're always giving praise and rewards for all these successes, and you should never punish accidents, which people don't seem to understand.
Well, I think because parents don't think it's related to selective mutism.
I'm saying for every kid, like,
True.
reinforcement
That's true.
should be number one when you're trying to increase success. Punishment just leads to other problems like self-esteem problems and just viewing it negatively, and it just turns it into a bad thing. The best thing you can do when there's an accident is pretty much ignore the accident and have them, like, you don't want to give too much attention to it. You kind of just prompt them to change, and you turn it into a teachable moment. It's like if they start having an accident and you can catch them, that is like a great teaching opportunity. Yeah. And most of these kids they know, like, they don't need to be taught. It's just learning to like self-monitor themselves and know when they need the bathroom and be able to plan, like, how am I going to get to the bathroom? Because I think a big problem is being able to ask at school. And
I don't know why, but like at home, I mean, you would actually avoid the bathroom. Like, you wouldn't go on your own. You would hold it and wiggle and
I'm
like
a procrastinator. I'd rather not. Yeah.
So I used to have to like make you first thing in the morning before you came downstairs to have breakfast or anything. No, you have to go pee. That's just what we do.
It's good to have scheduled times.
Yeah. So, and then before bed was another one. You'd always try to, like, I don't have to. I don't need to go. So I'd always have to tell you, no, like, before we go to bed, we're all going to pee.
Yeah.
But I wonder why, like, looking back, do you know why? Like, I don't understand why you would avoid. I don't know, maybe it was attention brought to it?
No, isn't it funny? I just think, like, selective mutism is based off of avoidance. Like, that is you avoiding speech because you're anxious. It's the same thing. You're avoiding something to escape it in the short term, but then in the long term, it's creating problems for you. It's the same thing with toileting. You're you have to use the bathroom right now, but you're gonna avoid it in the moment, and then it's gonna get worse. I don't know. Maybe they're related. I'm just saying that's interesting. But I think it's not wanting the sensory issues. I know not everyone has sensory issues with selective mutism, but for me, I, like, hated the hand washing and I hated the wiping.
Yeah. So yeah, you would try
sitting on the toilet. I don't know. Just the whole experience was, like, gross.
I know, you wouldn't wipe.
Yeah.
You'd always called me to wipe. Dad wasn't allowed to wipe.
I didn't like having my hands wet either. And
I think you were afraid of, like, getting your hands dirty, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because you would do, if I made you wipe, or when I was tried to, like, no, you're getting too big, you need to wipe yourself. I don't know.
Yeah, I would use a lot of toilet paper.
Lot of toilet paper.
Yeah, sensory problems. Mm-hmm. So, I'm trying to think. We haven't really talked about how to get around, well, not get around, but get through the asking to use the bathroom or, like, finding times to go during school. Mm-hmm. But I personally think it's good for teachers to have that open door policy, even if your kid isn't ready to, like, initiate getting up to go. There's also, I think only in younger grades they bring the whole class to the bathroom, but that was still an issue because the whole class is in there at the same time and you're terrified someone's going to, like, peek in, and if you have the shy bladder syndrome, you don't want anyone to hear you. So, I don't know. I think a lot of the time you can have accommodations, like you can use the staff bathroom if you have to. I think that's better than not going at all.
Or the nurse's bathroom. Yeah. Maybe find a safe bathroom that the child feels comfortable using.
Yeah.
And then getting the school on board.
Yeah. You can make accommodations like that.
Yeah, but again, that's another conversation with the child, like having them pick the bathroom that they're safe, that they feel safe to go to.
They just want more control over their life.
And I think a lot of the teachers, you can have, like, a discussion with a child in private and tell them, if I send you to the office, it's okay for you to then go to the bathroom before you come back. Yeah. Because you're always worried you might get in trouble or do the wrong thing. Mm-hmm. So I think if they know that they have permission from the teacher privately, then that might help.
We also talked before about the, like, codes, or, like, if you raise 2 fingers, you can go to the bathroom, or if you put, I don't know.
Touching your nose with your finger. Or...
yeah, like a sign language type thing, where you don't have to ask, because I think while you're not verbalizing, which is what you should be trying to work on, this is a problem that...
It can cause medical...
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a priority.
Yes. Yeah, so a lot of, especially girls, can end up getting urinary tract infections, like Chelsea did. She was very prone to them. You know, it's just one thing leads to another. So I know for Chelsea, avoiding going to the bathroom, and then maybe if you're on the toilet and something scared you, you would jump off and not fully empty your bladder. The lack of wiping properly, you know, maybe leaking urine and having wet underwear, just damp underwear. All of those things make you more prone to urinary tract infections. And then that can lead to another whole host of problems as you get older.
Yeah, and it all makes the whole bathroom situation worse. I think a lot of this is just very similar to everything we talk about with selective mutism, where you just, like, treating the anxiety at the root cause just helps every situation. So if you're able to lower anxiety, it's gonna help every situation, like toileting.
So again, sticker charts. I know we've mentioned them, I think probably in every episode. But again, I think sticker charts is great. One of the goals being going to the bathroom, you know, or flushing the toilet, whatever the issue is for your child. Whether, I mean, you don't even have to start with going to the bathroom. You can just do flushing the toilet at McDonald's, or flushing the toilet at the mall.
Yeah.
Or
Go and wash your hands.
Yeah,
go
in the bathroom.
At school. Yeah.
Right. Any of those things are good to get a reward and make you feel more comfortable in the bathroom and work towards the goal of going independently.
Yeah.
And also holding stool. That's another, you know, not everyone, I guess, not everyone it's related to urine, but also holding stool.
That's a big problem.
That's, yeah. And then kids that have constipation from holding it.
Yeah.
The longer you hold stool, the drier it's going to be, the more difficult it's going to be to go. So I guess, I don't know, I always look at that as a nurse. So my answer to that would be feeding high fiber foods.
Walk
so
fluids.
that you, so that you can't hold it, even if you're trying to hold it.
Yeah.
So fresh fruits, vegetables, some good high fiber foods that, you know, youngsters will eat. So typically kids are supposed to have, I think, between like 20 to 30 grams of fiber a day. So berries, especially raspberries, I think are the highest. Beans, oatmeal with apple, any vegetables. Popcorn is another good one. Carrots, whole grain pasta. Pears, when you leave the skin on, there's a lot of fiber in the skin. Sweet potatoes, and if your kids will eat them, obviously prunes and figs. But that way, I think it's harder to hold it, so you kind of have to go.
Yeah. Yeah, we do a lot of that. That's a common issue with autism as well. And a lot of kids don't like the sensation, I would guess. And they also, for some reason, a lot of kids with autism just have constipation. Which we're not talking about that, but we always recommend they take Miralax and do everything you just said so that they can't really avoid it. And then the more successful times you have, like, the easier it will be in the future. I wanted to talk more about the whole, because I said sometimes you're just so anxious about other things and you don't realize you need the bathroom, and all of a sudden you're panicking, like, oh no, I have to ask, and it's a bad time, like, I can't, it's like urgent. So I think it's important to have dry pants checks for the younger kids, which we usually do use like an alarm system, but if you're trying to be discreet, they also have these like $20 little vibrating watch things. I'm sure you could just use a wristwatch if it didn't beep or something.
Do you mean for the child
or
for you?
For the child to wear, because then they're self-monitoring. It's teaching them to recognize, like, oh, let's check in and see, like, it'll buzz. You can set it to any time you want, so you could set it every half hour, and then it will buzz, and you talk to the kid beforehand, so they're like, oh, my ding buzzed, do I need the bathroom? And you just check in with yourself, yes or no. I think that's just a good way to teach yourself. Or if your kid is older, obviously they can read a clock and just check it's just an easy way to remind yourself.
Kind of like toilet training. I mean, usually it's like every 2 hours or whatever.
Yeah.
Sit them on the toilet or...
Right.
I think too with little kids or whatever, if you have to go urgently, then it's good to have some clothes on that kind of make it accessible and not difficult to remove or,
Especially if they feel like they have to ask the teacher for help, like with their belt. Like, I see that happen a lot of the time. Like, a child with selective mutism is probably not going to ask for help if they have a belt issue. If you can make it easy for them to undo their pants, they're going to be more successful.
Did you get any specific questions or anything from any listeners? Any specific troubles that people are having that you can think of?
I can check. Another issue people had is wetting the bed at night. And pretty much all you can do for this is, again, I really think that the whole diaper situation should be avoided, because if they can't feel it happening, then you're not going to wake up. It's better to wake up with wet undies and go to the bathroom.
I don't know. Being a mom, I'd go for the pull-up.
Really? I don't know, but how do you make it a teachable moment? Like in ABA, if we have kids who have accidents like every night, so we take data to find out what time do they normally have accidents. Like, oh, this kid has accidents at like 2 a.m. So you try to like withhold fluids before, like after 8 o'clock or whatever, and then you have, obviously this is with overnight staff, but parents are overnight staff, so you have your alarm go off right before that time, and you do a bathroom prompt, and this kind of just catches it before it happens.
We used to just say you had to pee before you went to bed every night, and if you tried to get out of it or whatever, then I would just say, not just you specifically, but I would say, everybody's going to go pee now. Everybody. The whole family's going to go pee.
Yeah.
And then that was one way to not single you out or whatever.
Oh, we're going to say that a lot of people, I mean, obviously we already did our medication episode and people have mixed feelings about that, but a lot of people say that once they start medication, they don't have toileting problems anymore, which is just part of decreasing that anxiety. And my doctor actually said that, I don't know, you can explain it better.
Yeah, so Chelsea had frequent urinary tract infections, and we had gone to specialists and everything, so to kind of do retraining of the bladder after. But when Chelsea was on medication for her selective mutism, she actually had not had a urinary tract infection for that entire year. So then later, when they started reoccurring again, her pediatrician actually prescribed the same medication just for the fact of preventing urinary tract infections, which worked.
And it probably had to do with, like, being tense all the time. Like, all that anxiety makes your whole body tense and hold your pee and all that.
Yeah, so they had explained it to me that basically your bladder was so constricting so often and tense that it was basically acting like a gravy baster. So just sort of, sucking up, constantly contracting, and they're pulling up bacteria or whatever, causing urinary tract infections. And then when you were on the medication, you were relaxed, and so that wasn't happening.
Another thing I want to say about this is exposure therapy. Like, things don't get better without constant exposure, and it's kind of like what we talked about before with our exposure episode, but you have so many opportunities for this. Like, I do this with my families that I work with. For kids who have autism, if they're afraid to use the bathroom, I'm like, well, why don't we go to Target? We'll use the bathroom there, and then we'll go to McDonald's. We'll use the bathroom there. Like, everywhere we go, that's an opportunity to practice, and whatever level they're at, you can still meet their goal. Like, if their goal is just to go touch the door, like, go touch the door at McDonald's, go touch the door at Target. It's you need to practice. Like, the more opportunities, the better.
Yep, good idea. Or even come in with me while I go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
If they don't want to, do anything. You can just say, I need to go, so you need to come with me while I go.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of times when you would avoid going to the bathroom, I would just say, well, I'm going to go, or, I need to go. And then while I went upstairs, I could hear you going downstairs.
Yeah. Yeah. You never want to be singled out. That's like a big part of selective mutism, I think. Mm-hmm. It's like you don't want to be treated differently, and if someone is treating you differently, it makes you feel even like it makes you retract even more. Like, I can't do this. So that's the whole like thing about everyone in the class has to go use the bathroom, or I don't know. Some teachers do a class-wide, like everyone in the class, if you need the bathroom, raise 3 fingers. So then it's not just you as like a special needs student. It's not like, oh, you need special accommodations. It's everyone in the class does that.
Yeah, I guess that gets you there, but then it's you would go but not go.
Yeah, I know. It really depends on the kid.
And I know you told me one time you were afraid people would look under the bottom of the door.
And I think if I had the chance to use like a separate bathroom, I would have been fine. Mm-hmm. I know a lot of kids can do that now. I don't know if our school had that. Because it was such an old building. I don't know if they had like the single bathroom stalls.
I just didn't think of it. And I think it took me a while to realize that you weren't going at school because, I don't know, I just hadn't thought of it. You were my first child. And, after a while I kind of clued in because, when you got home from school, you would just fly to the bathroom and then you could just hear the pee.
So overall, I think it really depends on the root cause. Like, try to figure out if there's sensory issues, try to figure out if there's a medical issue going on, or if it's just the problem with asking to go, or if they just don't even know that they need to go. They're all going to have different solutions, so you need to figure out what the problem actually is, and the easiest way to do that is just ask your child if they'll tell you. And then I just think shaping is the way to go. Like, you want to desensitize the bathroom as not a scary place and a safe place that they're comfortable to use in the future. I would say never punish accidents and always reinforce successes. Like, obviously don't embarrass them and make a big deal out of it, but if it's your goal to use the bathroom at school and they did it, then they earn whatever prize they picked. It's good to improve the self-monitoring, like try to get kids to tune into their own body and figure out, like, how often they need to go. Like, are they waiting too long? And having set times to use the bathroom throughout the day so they just get in the habit. And I definitely think if you're going to try to desensitize the bathroom, you should definitely do it in the location that you're having the issue. So say your kid is not going at school, try to go before school hours or after school hours and just get them comfortable with going in there and using the bathroom.
Maybe you need to engage another support person at the school.
Yeah, you always need people on your side with school.
Actually, I guess you could fade in, once, if the mom did it or whatever, you could fade in a school worker to then do it at lunchtime every day or something. So at least they're going at least once.
Yep. Yeah.
Like everything, everyone is so individual, and it just really depends on the child and what circumstances are that's preventing them from going. Mm-hmm. And like you said, just baby steps, baby steps, baby steps until you finally accomplish, and practice, 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 and reward.
Yeah. To
remove the fear. And we wish you so much luck.
You can do it. It's not going to be forever.
That's right. Yeah. It may seem like it's going to be forever, but it'll all work out.
I can now use the bathroom.
Independently.
I can do it
independently.
Yeah. And I actually like the hand dryers now. And I like the automatic flushers because you don't have to touch it. It's not germy. Thank you so much for listening to another episode. Make sure you leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts.
And I apologize for making us late with the episode. Okay, thank you everyone for listening. Tune back into Out Loud next time.